Today, I'm going to teach you how to make the best smoked pork shoulder, primal style, smoky, juicy, more tender than your mother's love, and how to do so in your own backyard. Pork shoulder I'm making today came from the pigs we raised on our 5-acre farm in northern New Mexico. We fed our pigs one of the most outlandish diets you've likely ever heard of for a pig. Bone broth, scrambled eggs with jalapenos, fresh apples and peaches. Now, I'm gonna admit that the flavor of our pork is fucking phenomenal, best I've ever had, because, well, I don't mess around when it comes to feeding people or animals the most nourishing foods that nature can provide. What this means is our pigs never laid a finger, a paw, a trotter on GMOs, processed foods, or anything packaged. So, let's get this Wonder Bread free, never any corn syrup barbecue pork shoulder party started. Today, we're going to smoke a pork shoulder. However, you can also substitute a picnic roast or a Boston butt for this recipe. What do you need to do first? Make a fire. Of course, you could make this on a Traeger, in your oven, in a crock pot, but today I'm going primal because, well, that's how I like to roll. So first, get yourself a charcoal chimney, and for the love of sweet baby Jesus, use untreated and natural hardwood charcoal. My favorites are rockwood charcoal or big green egg charcoal. However, I'm not a fan of the big green egg in general for cooking purposes because I will never ever cook my food on a Bluetooth oven or grill. Hard pass. So let's get your charcoal chimney going, stuff the bottom with newspaper, but not too much because you don't want to restrict the flow of oxygen. This is key to creating a fire. And you want to fill the top with your untreated charcoal. Light the newspaper on fire. Never use magazine paper. It's toxic to burn. And then you can walk away for about 10 to 15 minutes, as this is about how long it takes the charcoal to develop hot coals that you'll then pour into your offset smoker to start your fire. While you're waiting for the charcoal to burn, let's trim your pork shoulder. I'm a big fan of trimming big cuts of meat like pork shoulder, picnic, Boston butt, and even brisket before cooking. You want to trim the fat off and you want to create a nice even surface along the meat for even cooking. Don't throw away the fat. Dear God, do not do this. This is sacrilege. I set my pork fat trimmings in a pile, and later on, I'm going to render this down to make lard. Next, season your pork shoulder liberally. This ain't Texas, but we're going to season our pork shoulder like a real Texan. So I'm a big fan of starting with a liberal amount of black pepper. This allows a nice deep bark to form on your meat, which is the telltale sign of a deliciously smoked meat. It's not burnt, it's bark. Then I apply a blend of paprika, chipotle powder, sea salt, cumin, and a scotch of organic mineral-rich brown sugar. The brown sugar kills some of the heat in the chipotle and contributes to the bark formation during smoking. Of course, you can skip this ingredient if you must. After you apply the rub, it's super important to let the meat sit for 15 to 30 minutes and even up to an hour. This allows the meat to sweat and the flavors of the rub to penetrate into the tissues of the meat. All right, let's check our charcoal chimney. Your coals should be good and ready to go at this point. Transfer them to your smoker and stack some hickory wood and newspapers on top of the coals. At first, it's going to be smoky for a few minutes. Then the flames will develop, the smoke will die down, giving you a nice, clean smoke. This is what you want. You don't actually want to see too much smoke during the smoking process. This can be a sign that the fire isn't burning optimally. You want to barely be able to see the smoke coming from the chimney. This is the best sign that your meat is receiving a nice, clean, and even amount of smokiness. Now, let's get your hands on the meat and place it in the center of your offset smoker. Close the lid, tend the fire like a boss, and get your eyes and skin in the sun. It's been about 2 hours since I placed the meat on the pit, and you can see things are looking really different here. I've changed into my Sunlight RX outfit, shoes are off, grounding is happening at its best. Sunlight is above a 30-degree angle, which means what? I'm making vitamin D while I'm making barbecue. And I'm keeping track of time with this amazing pocket watch my wife gave me for Christmas so I can tell time and the meat cooking times sans EMFs. I think she loves me. This is my hog sprayer. I hate the name, but it's filled with apple cider vinegar and water. I spray my pork shoulder every 30 to 60 minutes with this to help keep the meat moist, tender, and to support the bark development. All you need is a few sprays and you're golden. After 3 hours, I decide to bring the meat in and finish it in the oven. Before you put it in the oven, smother your shoulder with a stick of butter, and I add a few tablespoons of that mineral-rich brown sugar on top. In the oven it goes at 275 Fahrenheit until it reaches about 200 degrees internal temperature. It's going to take about another 3 hours. So you're looking at 5, 6, 7 hours total. So now what do you do while you're waiting for your meat to be ready? You got some time to kill, and I've got some ideas. You can milk a cow. You can do some light reading. You can split some firewood. And then, finally, your meat is done at sunset. Now, this is where things get a bit tricky for you all. I don't use artificial light, especially not at night, to protect my circadian biology and to safeguard all of the melatonin I just made in UVA light during the day. So, I mean, it's kind of like sorry, not sorry, but this is the best shot of the meat I have for you all because, well, we only have red and amber bulbs in our house. So there's no LEDs to give you a good shot of the meat here. But chef's tip, when your meat is done, pull it from the oven and let it sit for 30 minutes and even up to an hour before eating. Be patient. This is important. Letting your meat sit before eating it is one of the most important steps because it allows the flavor and tenderness of the meat to really develop. All the moisture goes from the outside to the inside, and we need this time to let the flavors develop. Okay, here's a picture of the pork by candlelight. That's how we roll in this house on my incredibly outdated iPhone 7. We take our EMF exposure seriously, you guys, and our circadian biology. My wife gets a little embarrassed about this when we have visitors for dinner and tells them, I secretly wish that I were Amish. For my pulled pork recipe, tune into this week's Primal Pioneer podcast or visit my Eat Heal Farm blog at heatharshepard.com.